you. So we're now going to talk about Sukkot. And we left off with the fact that once the Kippur is over, it's like we turn the corner. And up until Yom Kippur, the Avodah is more tshuva, thinking about improvement, thinking about regretting the past, making corrections, anything that went wrong, and that's before. After Yom Kippur, from the moment Yom Kippur is over, the focus becomes Simcha. And there are 4 days between Yom Kippur and Sukkot. These 4 days are special days. We're preparing for what happened? We're preparing for Yontif, preparing for Sukkot and for Simchas Torah. And in fact, it says that the 4 days correspond to the 4 letters in Hashem's name. The first day is Yud, the second day is the Hey, the third day is the Vav, and the 4th day is the last Hey in Hashem's name. And then we go into Sukkot, which is dancing and singing and rejoicing, up until the top, which is Simchas Torah. So I started to say yesterday, and I'd like to continue on that, is that being the Simcha, some of you who read the book might recognize some of the points we're going to make here, that on the surface, being the Simcha was a very controversial thing. Initially, the Baal Shem Tov focused a lot on Simcha, and people in those days were very sort of upset. They felt that it's wrong, that the person who's very happy means that they're not serious, they're not sincere, they're not afraid of Hashem. It's a certain being too casual, too light, too easy. How aren't you upset? Beis Mikdash is destroyed. How could you be besimcha? In other words, people associated holiness and godliness and spirituality with being heavy, being serious, crying, and simcha, being happy and singing and being jumpy. They associated more with like being sort of carefree. And that's why they were, one of the big reasons they were against Chassidim, because they're always happy. Chassidim were happy people. And you might remember that one of the names that they used to call the Chassidim in the beginning, they called them in Yiddish, they called them Freilichen. They didn't call them Chassidim, they called them the happy ones. Later, they got the name Chassidim, and that stuck to them. The happy ones. When you study Chassidus, and not only Chassidus, but in Kabbalah, it really started with Kabbalah, with the Arizal. That Simcha is a very important part of Yiddishkeit, and Simcha is being spiritual. What we want to discuss now is not only that Chassidus, Simcha is also a way of serving Hashem, but it's actually in some ways one of the highest levels of serving Hashem. So first of all, we see that every Yontif, you're supposed to be with Simcha. So obviously, Simcha is a positive thing. The mitzvah, the Samachta b'chagecha. The times of the Beis Hamikdash, they brought a special sacrifice, and you know what the name was? Korban Simcha. Korban Simcha. It was a Korban Simcha. According to Halacha today, if you are celebrating Yontif, you must eat meat, drink wine, ain't Simcha ela b'basar v'yayin, because that brings Simcha. A husband is obligated to buy his wife something new to wear for Yontif, buy children things that they enjoy for Yontif, because you're supposed to create simcha in your home. So the mitzvah is to be b'simcha. B'samachta b'chagecha, you should be happy during your chag. And here we learned in the Gemara that for 7 days they were up all night, they weren't learning, they weren't doing tshuva, they weren't davening, they were just dancing and singing all night long. So clearly, simcha is something spiritual. Now, amongst the many sources that show us how important simcha is, there's one source which I think is the strongest statement about the importance of simcha. And that is that there's a halach in the Rambam. He talks about the laws of prophecy. And that is that a Navi, a prophet, cannot receive prophecy unless he's b'simcha. In fact, it says that Yaakov Avinu, when he lost his son Yosef, he didn't really lose him. He thought he died, but he lost him. He was very sad. Because he was sad, he couldn't have the same prophecy like he had before. And the Rambam writes, one of the reasons why today we don't have prophecy the way we used to have, because we're in Golos, and in Golos we're not b'simcha, and if you're not b'simcha, you can't have prophecy. So years ago, when there was a Navi, and he was at a place where he wanted Hashem to give him a message, you know what he used to do? He used to call his students, tell them to play instruments, and sing a happy song, create simcha, and only then was the prophecy able to come to him. So the rule is, Ein hashchina sheira ela v'tev simcha. The divine presence doesn't dwell only if you're b'simcha. So this is the exact opposite of what people think. People think that being happy is some sort of contradiction to spirituality. According to this, it's just the opposite. The only way to truly be able to receive spirituality is if you're b'simcha. So I want to explain that a little bit, and also explain another point, that not only is simcha as spiritual as tshuva and everything else, but to a certain extent, simcha and being happy with Hashem is actually in some ways higher than all other ways of serving Hashem. And I will tell you a story which illustrates that. The story is with Rabbi Majeski, and that's the story that you have in the book, so you might recognize the story, but it's good to tell it again. It's a nice story. The story is that Kol Nidrei night, like I told you, it's like the most awesome night of the year. The custom is that you take all the Torahs out of the ark. In some places, you don't take all the Torahs, you take some of the Torahs. In some places, take all the Torahs. They stand up in front near the Chazan who's davening, and they say this awesome prayer, Kol Nidrei. So in the shul of Rabbi Majeski, one of the greatest Hasidic masters, they were in the shul. Everybody's wearing their talis over their head, their white garments, saying Kol Nidrei, pouring their heart out. Suddenly, there's a commotion. This guy jumps up on the bima, on the platform where the Torahs are, and he starts dancing and singing, and he's saying, Ata Haresa. Ata Haresa, these are words and verses that we say on Simchas Torah. So on the night of Yom Kippur, he's acting as if it was Simchas Torah. And of course, when people start screaming, Shah, Shah, how could you do that? The whole shul, the Rebbe is sitting here. He goes on, people realize he must be drunk. That made him even more angry. Drunk on the night of Yom Kippur? What kind of Jew is this? Which Jew does that? And of course, they ran over to grab him and carry him out of the shul. At that moment, Rabbi Majeski turned around and said, let him be. He can do what he's doing. Don't touch him. So everybody's crying their heart out, and he's dancing and he's singing as if it was Simchas Torah. And that was the end. Nobody understood. Why would the Rebbe allow such a thing? After Yom Kippur was over, sitting by the meal, Rabbi Majeski said, let me tell you the story behind what happened last night. And he told them the following story, that there was a family. In those days, in Poland, especially Ukraine and these places, there were noblemen that they owned estates. And they were very powerful. They had their own castle, they had their own army, they could put people to death. They were like little kings. So these noblemen, in Yiddish, we call them aparats. The noblemen were very strict. They would rent homes or inns to Jews to do business. So this Jew, he rented an inn from the nobleman. He would make money and pay him, but business was bad, and he couldn't pay the nobleman. And what the nobleman did was he arrested him, threw him and his family into a dungeon, and he said, until I get my 300 ruble, which is an enormous amount in those days, I'm not going to let him go free. And for a Jew to be in these dungeons wasn't only a matter of inconvenience, it was a matter of life and death. They didn't feed them, they beat them, their conditions were terrible, so literally his life was in danger. At that time, it's a big mitzvah to help someone go out of jail. So the shamash is the person in the shul that is in charge to clean up, put out the sidurim, put everything away. He decided he's going to try to collect money. And Erev Yom Kippur, it was a perfect day because people give a lot of stuff. And he went to one person, to another person. You know how it is. This one gives you a quarter. This one gives you a dime. This one gives you a nickel. He needs 300 ruble. But he's trying his best. He came to this place where there were Jews sitting by tables, playing cards. Obviously not religious, not God-fearing. They're playing cards. And on the table, there's cards, there's money, and there's vodka. In Russia, they call it spirit, which is 190 proof, which is a very strong drink, very strong. It's like almost alcohol. And he walks over to them and says, come on, you guys are playing cards, you're spending your money. Give you money for a very good cause. You can help a family. I need 300 ruble. First they told him no. Then one of the people said, you know what? They want to have some fun. If you drink a cup of this mashka, of this drink, we'll give you from our table 100 ruble. And he said, please don't do that to me. It's Erev Yom Kippur. Tonight is Kol Nidrei. If I drink this, I won't even be able to go to shul tonight. My head will be spinning. I'll be finished. Well, if you're not interested, goodbye. If you want to be 100 ruble, you have to drink it. And they're all laughing. And he's thinking to himself, so wait a second, what's more important? Pi Yom Kippur? Or for 100 ruble, it means I can take this family out of jail a few weeks earlier. It's like saving so many lives. And he decided it's more important to get them out of jail than I should have a more spiritual Yom Kippur. So he said, okay, I'll do it. He drank the cup, and they kept that part of the bargain. They gathered together 100 ruble, and they gave it to him. He was very happy. But as soon as he drank it, I don't know if you ever had a drink of 190 proof, I hope not, but it's very strong. And his head is already spinning, and he wobbles over to another table, and he says, yeah, your friends just gave me 100 ruble, please help me out, I need to get this family out of jail. And of course, these are people that are not serious people, so they say, sure, you drink another cup like this, and we'll give you also 100 ruble. So come on, have Rahman or something, please, compassion. It's Yom Kippur tonight, my head is already spinning, I don't even know if I can make it to shul, and they, no, if you drink it, you get it, if not, goodbye, no deal. Well, he had to make a decision. And now he had a cup of this mashka to help make a decision even better. So he made a decision, yeah, my Yom Kippur is not as important as saving these people's lives. So, okay, I'll drink another cup. He drank a second cup, drank it up, and they gave him 100 ruble. By this time, he's seeing triple, you know, he's working. He has 200 ruble, which means he can get the family out so much sooner than he ever thought. And he schleps over to the third table. The same thing happens, and they say, if you drink a cup of this, we'll give you 100 ruble. But 100 ruble means he has the whole amount. He can get the family out before Yom Kippur. And now his brain was really out of order, so it wasn't even a question. He said, sure, I'll drink the third cup. And they gave him 300 ruble. He said to them, I have just one request for you. Just bring me to the parts. I'll never make it myself. I want to take the family out. So they took him to the parts. He gave the 300 ruble, and sure enough, he let the family out. The people were shocked and so happy. They embraced him, they kissed him, they thanked him. And he only had one place. Forget everything, just take me to shul. At least I'll sleep in the shul with Kol Nidre. Because forget about davening, forget about anything, but at least to sleep in the shul. He brought him to shul, put him on a bench, and he fell asleep on the bench. In the middle of his sleep, people came to shul, they're saying Kol Nidre, so all the noise woke him up. But of course, his head is still spinning. So when he woke up and he saw all the Torah scrolls, what did he think? Oh, it must be Simchas Torah today. He forgot where he was, when it was. And he got up and he started to shout, Atar Reisen is that? So, Rabbi Majeski said, what he did was something really out of the ordinary. Sometimes you have Mesiras Nefesh, Papa Yisrael, you give away your money, you give away your bed to someone, you give your food away to someone. He gave away his Yom Kippur to save another family. So he said like this, all the holidays of Tishrei, it's not just a collection of different special days. It's climbing a spiritual ladder. And therefore, every holiday leads you into the next. He, because he had Mesiras Nefesh for this family, he jumped over all those levels and he's already up to Simchas Torah. So he has the right to be dancing and singing. I just wanted to illustrate it, so I made a little diagram here. And if someone can give this out, just that you can see it visually.
Great.
What? In other words, what I'm showing you here is as if you're looking at a staircase. In other words, really you can explain each holiday separately, but it's not separate days. It's all connected. It's climbing a spiritual ladder. First, we have the month of Elul. Then we have 12 days before Chai Elul, the days of Slichas. And that's a stepping stone to get to Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah lifts us up higher to the 10 days of Tshuva. That leads us into Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur brings us to the 4 days between Yom Kippur and Sukkot. Then comes Sukkot, Simchas Beis Hasheva, Shana Rabbah, Shmini Atzeres, and all the way at the top is Simchas Torah. So Rabbi Majeski said that because he had Mesiras Nefesh, he jumped all the levels from Yom Kippur straight to Simchas Torah, and he had all the right to do what he was doing. So I want to explain this point.
What do you mean?
The story, you understood the story or not understood? There was a family that was in jail.
Sorry,
I explained. Right.
yeah, I didn't understand.
בזכות זה, שלא מסירת נפש, שהוא איבד את היום כיפור שלו, בגלל אבא ישראל, הוא זכה לקפוץ, לדלג על כל המדרגות. So I want to explain what this means. That's saying in a certain way that dancing and singing and Simchas Torah in some ways higher than Rosh Hashanah, higher than Yom Kippur, higher than Aseret Tshuva. How could that be? So we need to understand a little bit better what is Simcha. What are we dancing and singing about? What's all this happiness? What makes it hard for a person to be the Simcha? So it really is a lot of talk about it, but let me see if I put it into the booklet or not. Just check. So this applies to both the Simchas Torah, to Sukkot, because Sukkot is also basically a time of Simcha. There's a pasuk, a verse in the Torah. Oh, it is here. Okay. Let me give this out. This is when I gave you a Sukkot. Let me give you this as Simchas Torah and Shmini Atzeres. Do everything together. Okay, this time we'll tell you. You run faster. You get there first. Thank you. Hey, how does this thing move by itself? Are you moving it by remote control? Every time I turn around, it's facing another direction.
I think when it's plugged in, it's
Still spooky a little bit there, okay?
There is one more.
Yeah. So in the booklet that says Simchas Torah, take a look and page 5. Page 5, on the number 2 is a pasuk. V'yosfu anavim b'Hashem simcha. And Hashem, the humble ones, they rejoice in Hashem. They have simcha. If I would ask a question, ask a crowd a question, who do you think would be the happy people? People that are humble or people that think very highly of themselves? Who would be the happy ones? Humble? Why? Ah, you know the answer already. On the surface, I would think the opposite. A humble person doesn't think much of himself, so he's probably going to be down, depressed, no self-esteem, no I'm not worth anything, I'm a nobody. The arrogant person thinks very highly of himself, he's probably the happiest person in town. So it's strange that the Torah should say, the Yasru Anavim, the humble people, they're the ones that have a simcha. Which shows us that true joy comes from humility, from being humble. In the language of Chassidus, it's the first word on the page, bittul. Bittul leads to simcha. And the opposite of bittul, which is a person who is focused on themselves, self-centered, and focused, that person is going to be lacking in simcha. Now, to explain this, there's so many details. I have to concentrate and try to focus on a certain point so to make it easier to follow. But let me say the following. Generally speaking, a person who's not, there's two things, let's say, that always make a person not be happy. What is it? It's basically what I'm missing, what I'm lacking, I'm not doing something good. There are things about the past, things that I didn't do, things that I missed out, I missed opportunities, whether it's ruchnius or gashmius, these will make people sad. Something that happened to me in the past. And the other part is the future. People have anxiety, what's going to be, what will be next week, what will be next year, what happens in a few years from now. People are worried about the future, and that brings a person down. The true simcha comes from two basic feelings. One is emunah, that I trust in Hashem, that everything that ever happened to me was from Hashem and through Hashem, and He made it happen. And everything's Hashgacha Pratis. I don't know if you remember, but either yesterday or 2 days ago, I think it was yesterday, it said in Hayom Yom, if you look at Hashgacha Pratis, you'll realize that you actually can see godliness with your eyes. You see things happen, and you realize, wow, this led to that, and that led to this, and that's how I found this person, and that's how this ended up here. Hashem is running the world. I always repeat, some of you heard this from me before, but I read an article, this guy wrote that he went into a car, taxi in Israel, and in the back seat, there was a steering wheel, the back seat. So he asked the driver, why do you have a steering wheel in the back seat? So the driver starts laughing and says, oh, I have a 3-year-old son. Every time we go in the car, he starts crying and screaming. He wants to sit over here and drive the wheel. So I made the wheel in the back seat, and he's turning the wheel, and he thinks he's driving the car, and he's happy. So the person said, I was giving a class, I said, perfect. I said, that's what Hashem does. He's driving the vehicle. And we think, oh, I did this, so that's why that happened. You did that, that's why this happened. He did this. The truth is Hashem is running the vehicle. And he only makes it look like as if I'm making things happen. I'm really not making things happen. And that's basically what Amunah is, to trust that everything that happened to me, even if it was my choice, even if it was someone else's choice, in reality, if it happened, it must be that Hashem was behind it, and Hashem had a purpose, and therefore it must be that the purpose is for the good, physically and spiritually. Yes, we don't understand, but I can trust and believe that it was from Hashem and it was for the good. Sometimes we have the good merit to see that what happened, I thought it was terrible, turns out for the good. And sometimes we don't see. I didn't tell you this, but I was out a few days. I wasn't in the dorm because my wife had COVID. Baruch Hashem, she's doing fine now. But every day, Rosh Hashanah, the phone is ringing down. It said on it, New York City COVID. So obviously the city was calling to check up on you, if you're going outside or how you're doing. We didn't answer the phone. After Rosh Hashanah on Thursday, this guy shows up by my door and he says, I'm from the New York City office for COVID. Does Rabbi Majeski live here? I said, yeah. Okay, what's coming now? Well, it was nice. How is she feeling? Is she taken care of? Do you have a physician that's on top of it? Are there any complications? Do you need any help? Very nice. Then he says, I noticed on the door, it said Chabad. Is this a Chabad house? So I said, no, but every house is a Chabad house. Would you like to put on tefillin? And he goes, sure, why not? That's it. He came into my house. Even though we had COVID, he walked in, he put on the tefillin. He's the COVID guy. He put on the tefillin. Turns out he went to a Chabad yeshiva when he was younger. Wow. And he had to put on tefillin. Who knows how long? He started to say the Shema. Who knows what changed in his life? And we're saying, who knows? Maybe that's why someone had COVID and end up this person puts on tefillin might turn around his life around. So sometimes you have people telling you stories and you see openly Hashem orchestrating things. This happened here, that happened there. Initially, we don't see the good in it, but eventually, sometimes we do see. So we have to believe that even when we don't see, Hashem knows the whole story, and it is that way. I think some of you remember this from last year, but I would say what always brings this as an example. If you know the answer, don't say anything. It goes from last year. But for the new students, who can tell me what this is? Doesn't make any sense, right? Do anyone remember from last year? No. This is a giraffe passing a window. In other words, you see just this piece. It doesn't make any sense. But there's a big something going on over here, and there's something going on over here, but you don't see it. Once you know, oh, now this makes sense. That's it. It's a giraffe passing a window. That's how life is. Something happens to me today. I don't know what was going on before. I don't know what it's going to lead to tomorrow. But we have a mood that is from Hashem. So first of all, if a person believes in Hashem and that everything happens from Hashem, then I have to believe that it's for the good and there's no depression, there's no sadness. I feel that Hashem is taking care of me and Hashem knows what's best for me and He's leading things in a good way. Then we have the future. People have anxiety about the future. So there's another attribute which is called bitachon, trust. To have trust in Hashem. And that is to trust that Hashem will do things in the future that are going to be good for me in a way that I will see that it's good. Like it says, Utsu Eitza B'Sufar, Dabru Davu V'Lo. They make plans, they try to hurt me, but I trust in Hashem, and all the plans will be canceled. Nothing will happen. On a personal level, to have bitachon. And I think you might know, probably heard the Rebbe's quote that he uses very often, which is Trach gut, but sein gut. Think positive, it'll be positive. If you have bitachon, things will be good. So basically, here's a person that's explaining everything and trusting all the natural reasons. The banker, my landlord, my employer. So you're worried. But if I realize it's Hashem that's in charge, nothing stands in his way. And Hashem said to me in the Torah, trust me, have bitachon in me, and everything will be good. So I have that bitachon. And therefore, things could be looking in a certain way, but I have the trust, and I'm happy, and I can be the simple. So basically, that's number one, that a person who has a connection to something higher than themselves could be the simple. A person who attributes everything, I'm the one with the steering wheel, and it's all me, I made the wrong choice, I made a mistake, I should have done this. In Yiddish, they say, should have, could have, and would have is heresy. It means you don't believe in Hashem. Should have, I should have. I could have, and I would have. This is what happened, this is what it was supposed to be. Now, in addition to that, the second thing is that everything we do, what's my focus? Is my focus me, or is my focus what I'm doing to please Hashem? For example, a person does a mitzvah. I'm giving tzedakah. Am I thinking, wow, I'm a great guy? Or am I thinking, this is what Hashem wants me to do? And I'm focusing on doing what Hashem wants the right way. A person who's lacking bittul, that person is always thinking about, what does it do for me? Am I a failure? Am I a success? How do I rate myself? Am I a high level? Am I a low level? Where am I standing? What's my image? How do people look at me? These are the thoughts that come to a person that doesn't have bittul, doesn't have humility. Means not just I'm not arrogant. It means that I'm not focusing on self. I'm focusing on emes, on truth. I'm focusing on Hashem. And everything I do is for that purpose. And that makes a person, first of all, much more action-oriented rather than sitting and crying about things. You know, I think about a certain situation and I'm upset that things are not working out the right way. I have to say to myself, if I can not do anything about it, it's done. Stop thinking about it, just move on. And if I could do something about it, focus on what needs to be done. Don't focus on how bad it is. I think I can use this as an example. I once spoke somewhere, and after I spoke, I wasn't here in Crown Heights, I traveled somewhere, and after I spoke, people wanted to walk over and ask questions. And one woman walked over to me, and she said to me that she has two daughters, beautiful daughters, and they were good kids. And when they got a little bit older, teenagers, they got involved with bad friends. They got involved in drugs, and they're leading a miserable life, and she starts crying. And when she's crying, she keeps saying, I'm such a failure, I'm such a failure, I'm such a failure. Of course, it's very painful, and I understand how she's feeling. But by saying I'm such a failure, which means you're not focusing on, okay, these girls are in trouble. Let me use every ounce of energy to think, what can I do to pull them out? Instead, I'm thinking, I'm a failure. Is that what I should be thinking? It's not the issue. The issue is about them. What can I do for them? How can I help them? Not this way, I'll try that way. Not that way, I'll try a third way. But to think, my mind should be racing with ideas what to do for them. Instead, that means I'm focused on myself. If something goes well, I'm focused on, wow, how good I am. If something goes bad, then I'm focused on myself, how bad I am. It's terrible. And that's the way the mind reading all the time. A person like that will never be happy. A person who's always self-conscious, self-aware, self-centered, self-focused is not happy. The happiest people are those that can get away from themselves. It doesn't seem that way. You would think that the more you think about yourself, the more you're in control. But of course you have to think about what you're doing. But when you think, you're not focusing on self. It's not about me. It's about what I'm doing. I'm doing something right. I have to get the job done, whether it's learning Torah, whether it's keeping Shabbos, whether it's doing mitzvahs. Don't focus on, I am a failure. I am a success. My status is high. My status is low. These are the thoughts that bring us down. And if a person can get away from that, that person is going to be a happier person. And one of the stories that I have there in the book, which when I heard the story, it was fascinating, and I repeated it very often. And what I'm referring to is a story where this guy was walking down the street, and someone stopped him and said, "Rabbi, can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." He says, "When you sleep at night, where do you keep your beard? On top of the blanket or under the blanket?" Rabbi thinks for a second and says, "I have no idea." "What do you mean you have no idea? You're 60 years old. Well, where would you put your beard all this time?" "I have no idea." He goes home, and for the next 2 weeks, he can't fall asleep. He puts his beard on top of the blanket, he's not comfortable. Puts it under the blanket, he's not comfortable. And he's tossing and turning. So how did he sleep for the last 40 years? The answer is true life is actually not being super conscious of my movements, of every nuance I make. That's the way a person lives a healthy life. When I start being conscious of my hands and my feet and my beard and my head, that's not normal, that's not healthy. Healthy is when I'm focusing on what I'm doing and not on myself. And therefore, it's so much more when it comes to spiritual things. Healthiness and happiness spiritually is when we get away from ourselves. So when a person is doing tshuva, it's beautiful. Tshuva is a very high avodah. But you know what? Even when you do tshuva, you're still a little bit focused on self. I did something wrong. Hashem is maybe upset with me. I want to become closer to Hashem, or I'm worried about punishment, or just being close to Hashem. Even though it's a spiritual thought, but it's still about where I stand, where I am. Even a person who is engaged and involved with love for Hashem. Love is also a feeling where you feel yourself. When you love someone, it means you're enjoying and you have pleasure from loving this person. I have pleasure from loving Hashem. It's a very high level. It's a beautiful thing, but still a certain sense of self. Simcha, being happy, means totally just let go of yourself. Simcha means forget, just immerse yourself. It's Hashem's day. It's Hashem's yontiv. Hashem wants me to be happy, and I am immersing myself in this relationship with Hashem, and I'm not focusing on me and what I feel and what I am. In fact, simcha means let go of myself. When a person lets go of himself, that's when he is the ultimate simcha. Focusing on self interferes with being happy. An example of what that means is that I'm constantly thinking about not what I'm doing right or wrong. I'm thinking about, so where do I stand? Am I a good person? Am I a bad person? Am I a successful person? Am I a failure? My thoughts are on me and my identity more than on what it is that needs to be done. And the more a person is focused on that, the more you feel down. You're never happy. You have money, you want more. You have other kinds of happiness. This person wants more because someone else has more than me, so I want to have more. There's always a thought that I'm not having enough because it's on myself. A person who is not focused on self, they are able to be happy with what they have, happy with what Hashem gives them. And that's the way we have to be thinking. When it comes to Yontif, we say it's the Yontif. Hashem tells us to be b'simcha, and then you start thinking, but how can I be happy if I'm this and I'm that and I'm missing this and I'm missing that? Focusing on myself again, letting go of all that, just saying this is what Hashem wants. Just let go of your thoughts on self and jump into your relationship with Hashem. That person will feel true joy. The human nature is that we're always drawn back to ourselves. We're focused on ourselves. And in fact, sometimes people feel sad or depressed and they're actually enjoying feelings. I mean, you can't use the word enjoying, but they're They're into it. They won't let go. They know that if I do this or that, I won't feel it anymore, but they don't want to let go of themselves. Heard this from many people. Imagine you're in your room, you're in a bad mood, you're very upset about something, and your friends knock on the door, and they say, we're going out now, we're going to have a great time. Want to come along? And you know in your head that if you go with them, you're going to forget about your bad mood, and you'll just enjoy it. So why don't you go? You're very cozy in your bad mood, and you don't want to let go. You don't want to get out of it. You're sort of entrenched in yourself. To go out of it means forget about yourself. Just go and have a good time. Go with your friends. Just have a good time. I can't have to think about myself. I can't let go. That is yeshus. And bittul means letting go of myself. So the happiest people on the planet are those that are able to let go of themselves. But when you let go of yourself, what are you connecting to? So if Hashem is not in your life, there's nothing to connect to. Letting go of yourself is nothing. What does it mean? But for a Jew who believes in Hashem and understands there's a higher presence, letting go of myself means letting go of myself and connecting to something that's higher than me. Letting go of myself without Hashem could be destructive. These are people that drink and go wild, take drugs. They're letting go of themselves, but it's in a negative way, a destructive way. The Torah way, I'm letting go of myself and I'm connecting to something that's higher than self, transcends me, and that lifts me to a whole different place. There's a beautiful song, it's based on words in the Zohar, that when Simchas Torah comes around, Hashem is with all his angels. Hashem turns around and says to the angels, look at my children. Look at my wonderful, precious children. When it comes to my holiday, they all forget about all their problems and all their issues, and they're dancing and singing and celebrating my holiday. So if you go to shul and you see hundreds of people dancing and singing, and they're red in the face and their eyes are closed, you think everybody has life so rosy. This one has a problem with the child, this one has a problem with his marriage, this one has a problem with health, this one has a problem financially. Everybody has different issues, but when it comes to Simchat Torah, everybody says, let go. Hashem says, I'm giving you this time to just let go, connect to higher, and just be with Simcha. So in a sense, Simcha it's almost like all these days are preparation. After Elul, after Rosh Hashanah, after Yom Kippur, where we refine ourselves more spiritually, now we're ready to reach the highest height, which is the ultimate, and that is ultimate letting go of self through Simcha. And it's gradual. Sukkot, we have one day, second day, third day. Every day the Simcha gets stronger, and then the peak is reached on Simchas Torah. So again, it's not just singing and dancing, it's Simchas Torah. We're rejoicing with Hashem, we're rejoicing with the Torah, we're rejoicing with something that's higher than ourselves. And letting go, but in a way that I connect to something higher than me. And this is really the essence of Chassidus. Chassidus is all about bittul, letting go of self. To learn how to connect and everything with Hashem. There's a mimer from the Tzemach Tzedek that once said like this, that if you want to put in one word, what is Chassidus? Chassidus takes this word, ani, and turns it around to spell onion. It doesn't mean you're not existing. It means your arrogance, your independence of Hashem, your own personal self, separate, and separateness, that one becomes I, and then become one with something higher. Tishrei, the same term, yeah. So I would think that when you study Chassidus, you should be the most depressed person on the planet. Why? Because Chassidus demands so much of us that this isn't enough, and that's not real service for Hashem, and this is not real love for Hashem. When you learn Chassidus, Sichos, nowhere else do they demand so much like Chassidus, total commitment, total devotion. And yet Chassidim are the happiest people on the planet. They tell a story that two friends once met. They haven't seen each other since they were young yeshiva students. And the chassid said to his friend, I hear from you that thank God, you're married, you have a family, you married off your children, you're a man who gives classes in Torah, prominent person in the community. I mean, it sounds so good. Like, why do you look so sad? Why do you look so sad? So the person says, you're right. All my life, I'm working so hard to become something, and I remain in nothing. What he meant was, I wanted to become something, like some sort of a name in the Jewish community, maybe a famous rabbi, a famous lecturer. No matter what I did, I still not was, I remained in nothing. So the chassid said, oh boy, am I jealous of you. And I'm working so hard to become nothing, and I remained in something. What he meant to say, when you study Chassidus, it's all about bittul. You're trying to become bittul, and your own personal feeling of self always gets in the middle. And so therefore, he was saying the opposite. I'm striving for the bittul. Now, bittul doesn't mean I'm non-existent. Bittul doesn't mean that I feel no self-worth. Bittul just means I feel in everything my connection to Hashem. And I feel that whatever I have is a gift from Hashem, and the talents that I have, and the opportunities that I have, and the success that I have, I'm attributing everything to Hashem. And that's what makes me happy, not focusing on personal sort of status. And that's when a person can be truly happy. That's the point. Any questions? Ayin means, in a way, it means nothing. But it doesn't mean nothing. It means I want to get rid of that feeling of self-absorption that a person has, self-centeredness. It's all about me and self. So, if anyone has an issue with being the simcha, there's once a year where Hashem gives us a simcha injection. It's a vitamin, simcha vitamin, and we get that on Simchas Torah, which means if a person during Sukkot and Simchas Torah work on themselves to forget about everything, just be the simcha for these 8-9 days. By doing that, this will empower you that for the rest of the year, it'll be so much easier for you to be the simcha. Same with tshuva. On Yom Kippur, Hashem gives us a tshuva vitamin. We do tshuva on Yom Kippur, and that empowers us that for the rest of the year, it'll be easier for me to do tshuva if I need to. Rosh Hashanah is the day that I accept Hashem's kingdom. So I do it on Rosh Hashanah, but that's the vitamin, booster shot, that Hashem gives me and empowers me that the rest of the year, it'll be easy for me to have Kabbalah's acceptance of Hashem's yoke. Sukkot, we learned is Achdus, is unity. So on Sukkot, we get another booster shot to give us the strength to be united within family, with community, with other Yidden. So basically, every holiday is God that is being revealed. The godness that's revealed, we absorb, and that which we absorb gives us so much more strength. And with that strength, we're able to be inspired and strengthened for the rest of the year in different areas. So one of them is Simcha. The time to absorb the power of Simcha is Sukkot in general, and more specifically the last 2 days, which is Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah. Yeah. Where do they get the shots from? being that they don't have the holidays. So the truth must be that when we do things right and we bring simcha into the world, we bring Kabbalah Sunnah into the world, indirectly it affects everybody else. In fact, this is one of the meanings of the bracha. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. One of the explanations the Alter Rebbe gives, it means Elokeinu, Hashem is our God, and through Hashem being our God, melech haolam becomes the king of the whole world. So if we accept Hashem's kingdom, the rest of the world will. If we'll be b'simcha, it'll bring simcha to everybody else. In fact, one of the things we're going to learn about, and you'll see it in the booklet here, I think you might know this, that on Sukkot, they brought a special kind of sacrifice, and that was 70 bulls, 70 karbanos over the 7 days of Sukkot. Are you aware of this? The first day they brought 13, second day 12, the third day 11, the fourth day 10, altogether 70. And the Gemara says these 70 karbanos brought bracha to all the 70 nations. And if the 70 nations would have known how much bracha they get from the Beis HaMikdash, not only they wouldn't destroy it, they would surround it with legions of soldiers and protect it from being destroyed because they get bracha from the Beis HaMikdash. So basically, by us learning Torah, by us doing mitzvahs, by us bringing godliness into the world, it brings godliness to everybody else. So I think if we have simcha, it brings simcha to the rest of the world. If we have the other attributes, it brings those things to the rest of the world. Doesn't mean it's automatic. It just means it gives potential for everybody else. It should be easy for them to, if they want to develop it. Even with us, doesn't mean that Simchas Torah automatically I'll be the simcha. I have to make an effort, and that's why we have to keep the laws and the customs of the Yontif. Sometimes it's easier if there's music, easier if you're singing and dancing. And sometimes you have to first do something external, and that creates more of a feeling inside. And we definitely know that the Rebbe, our Rebbe, his way of serving Hashem more than anything else was simcha. Everything was, and still is, that the way to accomplish things is through simcha. Simcha breaks barriers. Simcha will give you strength. Simcha will lift you upon anything that stands in your way. And also with Hashem, when we're b'simcha, it breaks barriers in Shamayim. And even if chas v'shalom, a certain bracha is being withheld, but by being b'simcha, the barrier is taken down and the bracha comes down. So simcha, poretz geder. Simcha is a very, very powerful, potent way. So we'll conclude now. We have much more to talk about Sukkot and Simchas Torah. On Friday, we have two classes. One class is Chassidus in the morning. The other class is Yontiv up in Chassidus. So hopefully whatever is left to explain, we'll be able to do it on that Friday. Okay, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. And Chasima Gemara, Chasima Tova to everybody.